we have come up with a list of the greatest upsets in tournament history. So, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to count you down from number 5 to number 1. I think you guys probably know what number 1 is, but let's start things off with number 5 here. Number 15 seed Lehigh taking down Duke back in 2012 with a final score of 75-70. Oh, by the way, Brian, 30 points from one C.J. McCollum.
Yeah, kind of a surprise that I don't know if I've heard that name before.
Exactly. What'd you make of this finish?
It was a game that was dominated by one player, McCollum, and Duke that year was a team that had flaws, but McCollum was clearly the best player on the court, and Lehigh did enough around him to win the game. Duke struggled defensively that year, which we saw, and this was just a case of a really good player in C.J. McCollum, who's now one of the best players in the NBA, or one of the better players in the NBA, making his case, making a name for himself and carrying his team to a victory over a team that, again, may have been looking past them as a 2-15.
You know, I put in the graphic here that any upset over Duke is noteworthy, so I had to put it in here. And, you know, there was the thought of maybe throwing in Mercer as well, but I didn't want to be too bad on all the Duke fans out there. But Lehigh as a number 15 seed, taking down Duke in that 2012 NCAA tournament there. So they check in as number 5 on our list. Number 4 now. Well, it's the number 15 seed Richmond Spiders. You got to go back to 1991, ladies and gentlemen, when they beat a powerhouse Syracuse team, the number 2 seed at that time, led by Big East Player of the Year and first-team All-American Billy Owens. He tried to do his best. He scored 22 points in that game. And look, Jim Boeheim by no means was a guy that was known for his early exit. So this was a fantastic upset here, the first 15-2 upset in tournament history. What do you think about this one, Brian?
Monumental because it opened the door to that 15-2 upset. We didn't see a whole lot of them for maybe a decade and a half after, but then you get into the start of this decade with Lehigh and Norfolk State. We started to see a lot of those. They were the first team to really come through and show that that could actually happen.
Going back all the way to 1991 there, so Richmond victorious over Syracuse. They're at number 4. Number 3 now, this one was pretty darn recent. A lot of people probably remember it. Middle Tennessee against Michigan State. The number 2 seed Michigan State, final score of 90-81. Michigan State that year was a popular championship pick. In fact, I'm pretty sure I picked them that season as well. So beating Tom Izzo in the tournament early, I think, is notable number 1. The fact that you do it as a 15 seed and Michigan State as a 2 seed is a notable point number 2. Michigan State lost despite shooting 55.6% from the field. Its 6th best field goal percentage in an NCAA tournament game under Tom Izzo. So Middle Tennessee just could not miss, Brian.
No, they never trailed in this game. And they came up short against Syracuse in the next game, but nobody remembers that. They remember their performance in this game. The same group kind of came back and won the first-round game last year as well, beating Minnesota. Middle Tennessee was a team that had actually some young players in this game. It wasn't like a veteran mid-major team going in there and beating a young, inexperienced Power 5 team. It was actually the experienced Power 5 team losing to a younger mid-major, which you never really see happen. So that's just another layer that adds to the incredibleness, if you will, of the upset.
And a high-scoring upset at that. Middle Tennessee taking down Michigan State. Let's go to number 2 now. This one was just so symbolic. 1985, number 8 seed Villanova taking down the defending champs, the number 1 Georgetown squad in the national championship, Brian. Georgetown had just crushed St. John's in the semifinals, and they lost 66-44. Unbelievable game, and one that, of course, we'll remember for a very long time.
This was a case of Villanova playing really perfect game. Players have talked about it since then, and they feel if it was a team other than Georgetown, they wouldn't have played that way, and that Georgetown would have won if they'd played a team other than Villanova. The fact that they had were Big East foes that had played each other a number of times over the in that year in conference play, and then even throughout the past 4 years, that group of seniors, they weren't scared of going up against Georgetown. They had beaten them in the past, not a lot. Georgetown obviously owned that series, but they had success against them. Villanova's head coach at the time, Ronnie Massimino, kind of went to a bit of a stall ball tactic in the second half, but Villanova only missed one shot something like 91% in the second half. When you do that, you have a great chance to win.
Villanova beating Georgetown in 1985 is at number 2, so obviously this is at number 1. The Retrievers of University of Maryland, Baltimore County, beating the number 1 overall seed Virginia Cavaliers 74-54 just last night. You know, Brian, there are moments where you think to yourself, I might be telling my kids about this night, about this game. Would this qualify?
Absolutely. This was a game that kind of like Chris Jenkins' shot for Villanova, that as soon as he hit it to win the national championship against North Carolina, you knew you were going to see that for the next 50 years of your life. You're going to see this for the next 50 years of your life as well.
All right, so UMBC, the amazing game that was last night. Greatest tournament upset in history. Here's the full-on list, ladies and gentlemen, 1 through 5. UMBC and Virginia, Villanova taking down Georgetown in that championship game. Middle Tennessee taking down Michigan State. Richmond battling Syracuse. Richmond victorious in that one in 1991. Lehigh taking down Duke in 2012. The greatest upsets ever in NCAA tournament history. If you disagree, hit us up in the comments section. Which games did we leave out? Let us know. We do appreciate when you guys weigh in.